Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play LOTRO with me, Balthelion. So today we are in Trum Dreng, still at Lhan Tarren, and we have to basically go collect some stuff so they can have their little festival of the Stag Clan. So we need to hunt game beasts, so basically anything they'd eat, collect kindling for the bonfire and pick scented herbs. They're all going to be around. I think there were scented herbs and that are to the east and slightly to the north, so we'll head to that region anyway. We might as well do it on foot because we're going to murder some stuff. But yeah, so let's talk a bit more about the champion itself then while I kill stuff. So the champion is intended really for doing AoE damage, so hitting multiple targets at once. They are obviously a melee class, although they can use a bow just to do some range pulls and hit some stuff at distance. They've only got one ranged skill that uses the bow. And this ox has stunned me. So probably should fight several of these at once because they're not doing too much at me. So we'll demonstrate that anyway. So yeah, a lot of our skills, if we have a look at them, so they will have some indication of not just like the range, but obviously it's a melee skill. It affects things within a 5-meter radius, and it's a max targets 8, so we can hit up to 8 targets by pressing this skill. And some of the skills will hit even more than that. So there we go. Raging Blade can hit 13 targets with how I've currently configured it. 10 targets on Blade Storm. You know, so champions are absolutely brilliant at murdering loads of mobs, particularly if they're small and squishy mobs. It's going to slightly lower my audio because the combat noise is a bit noisy from these boys. So what we're going to do, let's go grab a couple of these. Oh, I missed. Donk. There we go. So a couple of these boys. So yeah, they eat pig, they ox, everything's good. So you see if I hit all of these, all of them are taking numbers above their head from the damage they're receiving. So we should be able to kill them, hopefully all about the same time. So champions are quite good for doing their slay deeds because, you know, unlike say a burglar or whoever, you can just hit multiple things at once. Right, so there we go. So I've killed all 3 of them pretty much in quick succession there, rather than having to kill them one by one. So killing things is a lot quicker for a champion, which is nice. Now the catch being that obviously being in melee range is a little bit more dangerous because you're going to be in the thick of things. A lot of things will be bashing you over the head with sharp objects. So we might need to be a bit cautious, but since I'm slightly over leveled as well, I might be fine. Inevitably there's going to be at some point where I'm probably going to go into like a cave or like an enemy encampment or something and probably horrifically overpull. But yeah, so the main skills I've got are basically AoE skills. I've gone for the Deadly Storm trait tree, which is the AoE tree basically. So if you're doing area effect damage where you're hitting multiple targets, you want the yellow tree. If you prefer dealing single target damage, then you'd go for the red tree, the Berserker, which focuses on doing single target damage with single target skills. So your single target skills are all called strike skills, and they will have names, you know, like Swift Strike, Brutal Strike, Remorseless Strike, you know, anything with strike in the name basically. Whereas the AoE skills have Blade in the name, for the most case. You know, there are exceptions to the rule, but generally Blade skills are AoE, strike skills are single target. And then the final tree that champion has, the blue one, the Martial Champion, is kind of like an off-tank kind of line. So you're not going to be as good as a proper tank, but you know it gives you a bit more survivability and defensive kind of traits and attributes for that. So as you can see, my main focus is on the yellow tree. I've slightly off-spec into the blue. And if I had the full, what is currently 89 trait points, I think, then I would have off-spec'd partially in blue, partially in red, and obviously most of my points are in the yellow tree since that's my main tree. But we'll go through them bit by bit as we go through Dunland anyway, at least the earlier chapters. So let's just grab a couple more guys and go for 4. There's one over here as well. 3 oxes and a pig. There's going to be a lot of beef. I hope they prefer the beef to the pork. think that's probably the only bits and pieces that they could eat around here. So there we go. So look at that. It's fun. Murdering stuff quick. It's quite a nice thing of the champion. So yeah, I've kind of like configured my skill bars so that I have all my AoE skills down the bottom left. Roughly arranged in terms of what their cooldowns are. So the quicker cooldowns on the left. That's kind of like my main 1, 2, 3, 4 on that. Over to the right, I've got the skills that I've still got that are single target damage. So they're not necessarily bad, but they'd kind of be more useful if I was in the red line, that they would be my kind of like primary skills. These guys are respawning pretty quick. These will be the last 2 I need. So other than that, we have various other skills as well. We've got quite a few defensive abilities just to kind of like improve our defences. We'll do some reactionary attacks as well. So I think if we go through the trait tree first, and then we'll go through the various skills and that, because some of these skills are only available when you unlock them via the trait tree anyway. What are we missing? We need a kindling and a scented herb. So they're all to the east. So in my trait tree, let's start with the very top then. So we have Battle Frenzy, which grants the skill Battle Frenzy. Which is not going to show me both tooltips at the same time, is it? So I'm going to have to hover over it. So your fervor is instantly increased, as well as some additional fervor over time. So to explain that, first we need to understand what is fervor. So this is the champion's unique mechanic. So you'll see down here above the auto attack icon, I have up to 5 segments here, which is my fervor. And you kind of use certain skills which will build your fervor and certain skills which will consume your fervor. So as we can see now, on my basic attacks, adds 1 to fervor. That one does nothing. Adds 2 to fervor. Adds 3 to costs 3 fervor, and so on and so forth. So you can do somewhat more basic attacks. They're still not bad, but they're probably on the whole deal less damage, whereas the ones that cost fervor are kind of like your big hitting attacks. So you kind of have a bit of an ebb and flow to your combat style. But to be honest, like once you start getting towards the later game and you start gearing up your champion with all the traits and so forth, you will be building fervor probably almost as fast as you can use it. So you know it's not too bad. You can kind of just run in and go full berserker and smash stuff, which is good fun. Right, so we have to head back to town then. So let's have a look at another trait. So yeah, I always go for 1 point of that. That's quite nice to have because obviously more fervor means you can do more attacks or more of the better attacks in your skill rotation. So it's definitely worth having. And I always will then improve that later on, but that's a 3rd tier skill. And then the next trait is blade damage, which increases blade skill damage. So again, like how I mentioned earlier, blade skills are your AoE skills, strike skills are your single target skills. So this will improve all blade skills, and if there's any doubt about what are blade skills, you can go into your skill window with the K key, and it's not actually going to be under a category with the word blade in it, which I thought it was going to do. It is going to split them among them. But yeah, basically blade skills are the AoE ones. So if it hits multiple targets, that will improve the damage on it. Let's hand these in. So, probably worth noticing as well. I mean, not necessarily these ones, but you can get some quite interesting and unique cosmetics in Dunland. So if you are leveling through here, just have a look at all the options because you might find some interesting bits and pieces. Let's go speak to the Elder.
Many foul things dwell in the shadows. I fear wolves will be the least of our troubles.
Have you been enjoying your stay thus far, dear Pendulous? There are not many hours left until the Feast of the Running Stag, and I wish to make certain that everyone is ready precisely at sundown. Yeah, about that, mate. It's already night time. I think it's probably close to morning, actually. My good clansmen are not always the most observant when it comes to these things. Yep. Indeed, the blood of the Stag clan grows thin, and only Elaine and Guto show promise of growing into true stags. My feet are sore and my words are tired, but I do what I can to nurture my folk, so that they will be able to carry on when I am gone. I wish that they too could be more like you. Please, will you go and remind them to be present at sundown? So again, you can have various bits of armour, and sometimes you'll get some armoured boxes which they added back in after the fact. I can't remember whether that was when they added the Bjornings or when they did the Warden rework, but you can kind of get some pick your own gear out of the box kind of thing, so you can always get something of interest for medium armour gear. So tell everyone, come along.
As long as you do not trouble us.
Come to the festival, it's the best festival. I will certainly be there tonight, dear friend.
Greetings. Will you remain here long?
I will remain here for the festival, especially if there's alcohol. So, that'd be number 3, that'd be number 4.
See your kind before.
And I've missed the person up at the top. So we'll grab this person.
The Uchtwairad requires us to give welcome to the Duvodian.
Ah, I fell in the hole. Fell in the hole. No, my horse is in distress. So, speak to Elder Riagan. The Elder listens with a sad smile as you recount your conversations to him. Aye, they are generally a soft lot, but that is no matter. I am glad they are coming, most of them at least. Thank the Gwyrod for Elaine. She is a jewel among coals. My grandson is a good boy, but like a bull in both body and mind. I pray he will learn to think of living as oft as he thinks of war. When I die, he will lead this clan in my stead. Yes, I hope there is still time for him to learn. So presumably the elder's son has died and he's having to look after his grandson. So we just should take a random piece of gear.
Do not speak the names of evil things, for you will call them.
And now the members of the Stag clan who live beyond Lhan Tarren must receive their summons as well. Once a year, a crow from our village flies down to remind the solitary folk that it is time to join their brethren for an evening. The Crabane can be found in the village. Will you be so good as to set them off in the direction of the farms? The birds know what to do from there. So, send a raven. So they're all just loitering around. So there we go. Send word to every corner of the kingdom. In the meantime, so let's have a look at tier 2 on our tree. So, tier 2, that's probably, obviously you only need 5 to get to the new tier and that, so you might want to be economical with your points, maybe just go 1 point in Battle Frenzy and 4 in Blade Damage for the meantime, just to go tier by tier until you've got more points and then come back and invest that extra points on each tier. But it's up to you guys, whatever you find more useful. So tier 2, I've got everything basically. So Raging Blade is a very, very damaging attack, 8 meter radius, and it currently works as 13 targets for me. I think the base is probably slightly lower than that because I've probably got some bits and pieces which increase by max targets. But it's a fantastic attack. Costs 3 further 10-second cooldown, but it's a great skill to have in your rotation. Then we have, there we go, Broad Sweep increases the number of targets for area of effect skills. So any skills that hit multiple targets can hit up to 5 more targets on their base, 1 per tier. So for example, Blade Wall, it might have been a 5 target basic attack, but with plus 5 targets it now hits 10. There might be other things that are buffing my AoE as well, but that's also very nice to have, and it's very important for a yellow champion, so that's a must have. And then we have Barbed Wall, which increases Blade Wall damage. So Blade Wall is one of my most basic attacks as an AoE champion. 4.2 second cooldown, and it makes a frontal AoE attack. So anything that's kind of in the front of me, but not behind me. So there's some skills which do full AoE all around you, and some things that only affect directly in front of you. So it hits 10 targets, and the other thing of note here as well is that it debuffs the enemies. Debuffs their outgoing damage by 2%, which is not bad, but there are things which can buff that later on. So given that you'll be hitting pretty much everything with that and debuffing them, that is quite nice. we've missed a couple of crabbens. Let's close that window a second. Where are they? Where's the birds? There's one. There's two. Okay. What else we got? So the last... so that is the last one on tier 2. So then tier 3, we've got Ardent Rage, which increases the fervor generated by Battle Frenzy. The maximum rank of this lowers the cooldown of Battle Frenzy and replaces its fervor regeneration effect with a more powerful version. So basically Battle Frenzy, which is... I don't recognise the bloody icons. There we go. Let's put that there. So this... Originally it would give you a large wad of fervor, and this did this even on the base skill. It adds 5 to your fervor instantly, so it basically fills your fervor bar. And it was adding 1 fervor every 3 seconds for a period of time. Whereas now it's been buffed and now it's doing it 1 every 1 second with a 30-second cooldown. So it's a good thing to basically pop, and it's generating passive fervor for you in the background rather than you having to do fervor generation skills. So it is definitely worth having, and you know, if you're in a prolonged or difficult fights and that, you want to pop that, just DPS as normal. Keep pretty much using it on cooldown basically, if you can afford to. There's no reason not to unless you're just in short fights. So let's talk to the Elder. The birds are off then. Good. Very good. I think the Feast of the Running Stag will be a memorable one, thanks to the help that you have lent us. We have not had an able-bodied warrior like yourself with us in a long time, save dear Elaine and my stubborn grandson Guto. Now, you may spend the rest of your time as you please until the Feast of the Stag begins. I have no more need of you, but there is always work to be found in Lhan Tarren, and never hands enough found to do it. There we go, there's a bit of lag there, but didn't want to end my quest.
The Death have been destroyed. I pray to the Wirad that we will not be next.
And now the members of the Stag clan who live beyond Lhan Tarren must receive their summons as well. What? Have I bugged this? It's okay. He was trying to offer me the same quest again, but whatever. He stopped doing that now. There we go. So we can pick up some quests from the other people of the village. So here's his grandson Guto. Hang on. He looks a bit like Tolkien Giantsbane from Game of Thrones with that beard.
Even the Akluth have need of help on occasion.
So he wants us to go and defeat wolves nearby. Basically helping the people out around town.
As long as the sun shines, you are welcome here.
So we have some crazy beast, some hardcore wolf called Red Eye. I'm going to go stab him in the eye, and then it will most definitely be red. And this fellow over here, Grigor, wants us to collect turnips, which is a bit less exotic over killing an elite wolf, but we'll do it anyway. So then, where were we? So, second skill in the third line is horn damage. So this increases the Horn of Gondor damage, and only Horn of Gondor damage. At a max rank, it reduces the Horn of Gondor reduces cry resistance. So it makes your targets easier to be vulnerable to cry skills. I think that means other people are also effective against using their cry skills against the target, not just you. But I'm not 100% certain. But to be honest, with Horn of Gondor, if we have a look at it, so increasing the damage on a skill which is on a 20-second cooldown. I can't remember whether it's always 20 seconds or whether I've reduced my cooldown a bit with something. So it does hit 10 targets, but the main thing about this skill is it's a 3-second stun on everything it hits. So normally you'd run into a group of mobs, you'd blow your horn, stun them, you've got 3 seconds to do as much damage as you can before they start hitting you. You don't really use this skill for damage. So buffing the damage on it is not great. It's kind of a bit of a waste of 5 points, increasing the damage on one skill that you can only use every 20 seconds. So it's kind of like a waste of points, really. Where are we going? We're going southwest. And then the last skill on tier 3 is improved Raging Blade. So Raging Blade is one of our very highly damaging skills, which hits 3 times, it hits 13 targets that are anywhere within 8 meters of me. It's brilliant. It is a 10-second cooldown, so it is a bit more mid-tier, but you will be spamming that basically on cooldown anytime you are fighting. 60% damage on one of your most damaging skills is very nice. And I think there are other ways as well we can buff that damage. So it's definitely worth grabbing the points in those ones. But again, as I said, you might necessarily want to spend all these points in one go. You probably want to bum rush down to the bottom tiers as quickly as possible. So you might just want to spend 5 points on each tier until you've got to the bottom and then go back and spend the points. But yeah, it just depends whatever takes your fancy, really. But yeah, I think we'll stop episode 2 here then, and we'll pick up next time with killing Old Red Eye, the nasty wolf. But until then, see you guys later.